nice when you can put it in a ponytail.
Yeah, I can put it in a ponytail, but the front, it's hard to keep the front out of my face. We're recording,
Yeah.
by the way.
No. With my hair down? No. Don't put that on the internet. I'm gonna go off and come back on.
This is what our viewers look for.
Promise me you're not gonna do that.
Maybe I'll cut it to right afterwards.
Okay.
Just get
Promise?
you getting upset about it. Yeah, maybe.
Promise?
Let's talk about some records.
Huh?
All right, so welcome to Deep Grooves. Yes.
Otherwise, I'm restarting the video.
All right, welcome to Deep Grooves, everybody. This is the classical episode. One of it. We're gonna have to do another one because.
Well, obviously, there's millions of classical records to talk about.
Yeah. But this will be a good start, I think.
I think we should say right up front that we're probably not classical experts.
Right.
We just kind of know what we like. And I collect stuff according to what I think I'm going to like. I often don't like it, but, I tend to go with labels and time periods. And it has more to do with how it's recorded than necessarily what it is.
Sure.
Like I really like, the vibe of the early stereo stuff. That's true. The early stereo stuff does sound killer.
Yeah.
And like the shaded dogs are the main thing that I try to look for. And everyone thinks they're really hard to find, but I find tons of them out there. The trick with classical stuff is finding records that are in really good condition.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to find. If it's like beat up, it's like not that exciting.
Yeah, because there's so much dynamics involved in the music that if you've got a lot of noise and pops and ticks, it kind of really detracts from it.
Right.
Whereas if you're listening to a Sex Pistols record, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You don't hear it.
So and I would say probably the best audio fidelity experience you can have is going to hear a live classical concert. I would say, just for the viewers out there who haven't like being in a good concert hall and like the sound just comes right up to your ears. It's like there's nothing like it.
Well, obviously, it's a very organic process.
Yeah.
Unlike a rock show, which is like all about, how good the PA system is.
Right.
Classical shows are all about how good the room is.
Right. And they've had like hundreds of years to perfect that, So audiophiles, go check once we can. We can't right now, but eventually when they start doing symphonies.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll happen again.
Yeah.
But, as a side note to that, those early stereo recordings they can be pretty amazing. So, the trick is finding really nice, clean copies of like RCA, Shaded Dogs, Mercury Living Presence, some of the really nice early stereo pressings. And there are some really excellent reproductions out there. Like Speaker's Corner is doing excellent reproductions of that stuff. In fact, I'm going to probably pony up for there's a cool Bach cello suite box set that Speaker's Corner did. And it's supposed to be just mind-boggling. Yeah, unaccompanied cello.
Right.
That's definitely something you want to buy new. You don't want any pops and kicks in that.
Yeah.
So who's starting today?
Did I start last time?
I don't remember. It's been a few weeks.
I'll let you start.
Okay, I'm going to start with something relatively obvious. the Brahms Concerto in D. With I tend to be kind of drawn to the violinists and the quartet, string quartets, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Heifetz is the guy, as far as violin players go. But anything by the Chicago Symphony is a kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And this is Fritz Reiner, so an absolutely classic recording. This is from the early stereo period, so it's an LSC shaded dog. And let me show you what I mean by that. This is what a shaded dog looks like.
Oh yeah.
So this is the shit right here. Any of this stuff, and they did do shaded dog monos too. So you got to look at the prefix. LSC is what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. Okay, but yeah, this is from the early stereo period. It's a just amazingly dynamic record. Like everything about it is fuzzy and warm and fun, and even if you don't like classical music, you would appreciate the experience of listening to something recorded this well. This is also one of the premier orchestras of the day, probably still is, right? Chicago Symphony.
They're pretty killing, yeah.
They're pretty hard to beat, but it's recorded, it's recorded flawlessly. I mean, these guys had it down. So what you want to look for is right up here, LSC. And then make sure that it's the shaded dog version, because they did later versions too, without the shaded dog. They're just red. But this is one to look for right here. I like the Brahms stuff, and Heifetz is one of those. He's like one of the maybe the best classical violinist of that period, anyway.
Wow,
he rocked.
I have no idea who that guy is at that time. I got to do some homework.
He was the Andres Segovia of violin.
Sure.
That should put it into perspective for you.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is one of my favorites. I go back to it a lot.
Cool. I'm gonna talk about another RCA one. So you said this one is a red seal. I think this one is a red. Help me figure out what's going on here. So it's
let me see the label.
LSC, and then it's got red seal. It's got the little guy.
Yeah, it's later. Let me see the label. Pull out the record.
Oh, the record.
That's how you tell. Yeah, see, that's the later red.
Okay.
And those aren't bad, but they're not near as good as the shaded dogs.
Yeah.
They tend to be a little thinner sounding generally. But, like what I do is if there's something I want and I see that one, then, I grab that and then I look for a shaded dog version.
Sure.
Yeah. But they're decent.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a pretty good recording. This is this is a little actually probably more obvious. This is actually from my mother's collection. She has a truckload of classical records. You don't even know. But this is one of the more. I can imagine. This is speaking of killing symphony orchestras. This is I think this is the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Where does it says it? Yeah, there we go. Boston Symphony, which is very near and dear to my heart because I've been listening to them for 4 years while I've been at Berkeley. Would you believe we paid $2 a year for a little card that would let us hear a symphony a week for free?
Really?
Yeah. It was awesome. So I heard some cool shit. And this is, like, if you're just stepping your toes into the classical thing, this is probably a good record to start with because it's got Beethoven's number 5 and 9, which, of course, are, like, the two most iconic pieces of all time. And
yeah,
then they also
have
have
pop music in the classical world.
Yeah, but like it's been interesting revisiting them. I mean, because obviously they've got the catchy melodies that everybody knows, but when you get into like the actual depth of the symphony, man, he writes some crazy shit. And then opening the concert, you have Schoenberg's "A Survivor from Warsaw," which is like this is kind of a good representation. I think or it's not a concert, but it's a recording of from a set of a concert that they did. I think sending off Eric Leensdorf, who had been the music director. And so when you look at most classical music programs nowadays, it's like Beethoven and Shostakovich, and then some composer you haven't heard of, or some, because they want to play the new hip, or I guess this isn't even new. This is over 100 years old, but they want to play the new hip stuff. But the people who pay, they just want to hear Beethoven's Fifth, so they put the avant-garde stuff up front, so that the blue-haired people have to sit there and be like, okay, and then the young people like me are like, yeah, Schoenberg, and then they play Beethoven so that the people who actually pay for their tickets get their money's worth. This is a good thing.
Which Schoenberg piece is this?
It's a survivor from Warsaw, which is set to a poem, I think, from an actual survivor from the Warsaw Ghetto from Nazi Germany.
Cool.
And if you're one of those, a lot of people will say like Schoenberg he's too intellectual and I don't get any feeling from his music. And I think that's just like people who know about his composition process, which is famously the 12-tone system, but not actually listening to his music, because this piece is like, it'll blow your eardrums off and it'll wrench your heart in two, and it's like, it's heavy duty shit. It's like on the emotional level of the stuff that Beethoven is doing. So yeah, this is a good early acquisition, I would say, if you can hunt one of these down.
This is a weird one in the classical world. So this is also Schoenberg.
Oh, and Scriabin.
For l'Arte Nacht, Opus 4. And the thing that's really unique about this record, first of all, it's on London. And it's an early London, which means it's basically Decca. So basically what happened was Decca started producing the London label to ship to the US. So if it was in the UK, it was Decca. If it was in the United States, it was the same recording and same pressing, but it was on London. So a really high quality recording. But what's really unique about this is the conductor is an East Indian conductor. So Zubin Mehta is the conductor, and he's from India, doing the Los Angeles Philharmonic, which was at that time one of the premier orchestras. So it's a really killer recording. Really nice gatefold. And then the back looks like this.
Nice conductor shot.
Yeah. And then this is what the pressing looks like. They all came with these really high-end sleeves, with the poly lining and stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
Which the Deccas did too. So this is a London, an early London red label. Phenomenal pressing. Just like mind-boggling pressing. But the fact that, it was the Los Angeles Philharmonic doing Schoenberg with an Indian conductor.
It's kind of a unique risk. Yeah.
So this is one I keep going back to. I really enjoy it. And this is one that you put your stereo on, maximum volume level and just sit back and just take it in.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, Zubin Mehta doing Schoenberg.
Let's see what's next. I'll do. Okay, this is a good one. Check this out. I don't know what label this is on, but these are two names that you shouldn't have to think twice about. Oh, this is on EMI. This is Itzhak Perlman playing Igor Stravinsky, and you got a picture of the two.
Is that EMI or Angel?
What? Well, Angel, it says both on there, so I don't know. Manufactured at Capitol Records.
Yeah, Capitol was the American subsidiary of EMI.
Yeah, it's got Angel up at the top.
Yeah, Angel is the actual label, I think.
Yeah. And this is I think it's just him and a pianist with Bruno Canino, and you really get. I'm sure there's a lot of killing Itzhak Perlman recordings out there, but with this one you really get a good sense of. They have a list of them right here: Bach, Bartok, Scott Joplin, Dvorak. Anyway, you really get a sense of like, man, he's got cojones in his playing, and he's like a seriously like passionate, like in your face musician, and his dynamics.
Yeah, he's badass.
Yeah.
As far as violinists go, he would be like the modern version of Heifetz.
Yeah, he's killing. So, yeah, I mean, if you know anything about classical music, you know both these names, just like superb musicians, and so it's a great pairing of the music of Stravinsky and Itzhak Perlman playing it. So I love this record. Check this one out.
Yeah, the Angel stuff sounds good. So, I had to throw one of these in there.
Yeah.
My favorite Segovia record. And there's a lot of good ones, but I really like this one. And I was fortunate enough to get this. Like, this is like Dead Men in the Shrink. Like, maybe played once when I got it. So it's super quiet. So it's Segovia doing a bunch of different composers, Tansman, Mompau, and Valera, Valera. I believe Tansman was Polish, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was Polish. So Segovia tended to do that. He tended to play sets of composers that he liked. So this is one of the gold label Deccas. So this is the British kind of version. Although I believe this came out in the US. This may have been before they had London. So this is a gold label Decca. These are phenomenal pressings.
Wow. I could shave on that record. It's so pristine. I could like use it as a mirror.
Yeah. Well, I got it in the Shrink, This is quite a listen, Because it's very quiet, dynamic music, but man, I'm telling you, Segovia was a badass mofo.
He was, yeah.
I mean, this guy's got the energy of Eddie Van Halen all day long, you know?
Yeah.
But in a different way, obviously. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, man, this guy is just badass. I mean, his playing was so cutting edge and so gutsy for the day. Yeah, I mean, it must have just blown people's minds.
Yeah.
Because everybody else, and of course he mellowed out, as he got older. But when he was in his early period, like in his 20s and 30s, he was just amazingly cutting edge. I mean, people must have looked at him and just went, whoa, what planet did this guy come from? Yeah. And he had the chops to back it up, and he had the the catalog. I mean, the guy played hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
I've watched some of the master classes lately, and half of the time he doesn't even look at the music. No matter what they show up with, he knows every measure of every one of these pieces, no matter what.
That's horrifying.
Even when he was old, he's like, you watch him and he kind of like sings along sometimes.
Yeah.
He knows every piece.
Wow.
So I don't know how many hundreds of songs he knew, but he probably recorded hundreds of songs. I mean, I've recently picked up a bunch more of it, these gold label decas, and I've got like probably 15 of these things, and that's just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So, I was gonna try to get you a date. I don't know if there's a date on this, but I believe this would be like late 50s, early 60s, somewhere, very early 60s if it is 60s. But look for the gold label decas.
Mm.
Phenomenal stuff.
Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna take a detour. Wait a minute. I'm gonna take a. I was gonna go chronological, but I think I'm gonna. Well, actually, this is somewhat chronological. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I don't know. Have you seen this record before? This is a ECM. I think they call it the new series or something like that.
Is that one of the samplers?
No, it's not a sampler. It's like a full record. Printed in Germany. It's the ECM new series. I think it's specifically their classical division.
Yeah, the new series is all new classical.
Yeah. So this one is half new compositions. It's a guy named Thomas Demenga, and I think he's got. I'm guessing it's his wife on violin, Katrine Demenga, maybe his sister. I don't know. And then he's got Heinz Holiger on oboe. And so 3 of the compositions are original, I think, to them. So one of them is a violin cello duet, which is pretty sweet. One is an oboe solo by Holiger, which is like, it sounds like a synthesizer solo, like it doesn't sound like an oboe at all. And then one is a cello solo. And then the second half is him doing the 4th Bach suite. So like one side is like, and one side is like, nice. So if you can, the audio quality on this one, I think maybe it's just a little bit beat up because there's a lot of noise on it. I don't know if it's the printing so much.
The ECM stuff was actually really good pressings.
Yeah, so someone must have gotten a little too excited and.
Yeah, probably the best of its day, I would say.
Yeah.
That's probably set 1970s.
Yeah, this is 1987.
Right here. It is?
Yeah, this is more recent.
Later, huh?
Yeah.
But they were always known for having like the best pressings.
Yeah, right. So this one I think is just a old, maybe more beat up. The outside seems kind of like it's been worn down.
Played with a bad needle, probably.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's really cool music. And accidentally, I put this on at dinner once because I hadn't listened to it. I saw Bach. I'm like, you know what? I bet my family will be able to handle Bach. So we had the Bach side going, and I turned it over, and it's like, and they're like, what do you put on? What the hell's going on? So this is, a lot. You find that on a lot of these records. Like there'll be something kind of nice that the average person will want to listen to, and then there'll be something for crazy people like us. That's just how they have to do it so that people will buy the records, I guess.
Well, you know me, I like some of it, but it's gotta have some melodic nature to it.
Yeah.
Right. Some of the really experimental stuff, I can pretend like I like it for a while, but
I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of Emperor's New Clothes kind of stuff.
Yeah. So this is another classic LSC Living Stereo Shaded Dog. I believe this is Shaded Dog. I better look. No, it's not. It's a later. It's a red label, but everybody needs this. This is another Heifetz thing.
Oh,
so, Heifetz doing, the Scottish Fantasy. That's just amazing on violin. This has actually been repressed a couple of times by higher end like audiophile labels.
Mm-hmm.
Analog, pressed, meaning they went back to the original tapes and did it upright. So the chances of finding one of these in like minty condition is probably pretty slim. So.
Am I close? We're trying to capture a smolder.
So
what's the second piece on there? Or who's it by?
Concerto number 5. Attempts.
Hmm.
This is the new Symphony Orchestra of London with Sir Malcolm Sargent conducting. This is a red label, so this would be the later pressing of this. This is not the Shaded Dog. This is like the pressing after. But someday I'll have a perfect Shaded Dog of this. I hope. There's something in here.
I'll have to look through my mom's collection. I'm sure she's got some.
The original receipt, I believe.
Wow.
So this was $1.64 in its time. That's what somebody paid for this record.
If you had a time machine, would you go back and, you know what? I'd go back and buy a shit ton of records for $2.
Yeah, I'd buy wheelbarrows full of records.
Yeah.
So yeah, another classic Heifetz title. Everybody needs this if you like violin.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with violin because I mean, if it's someone that's really good, then I can relax, but I'm always kind of like, are they going to squeak? Are they going to squeak?
They never squeak.
No, I don't know.
You good guys.
You didn't have to sit through, I was in orchestra in high school and stuff. I had to deal.
Yeah.
I got post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the violin's one of those instruments, like if it's played poorly, it can scar you for life.
Oh, it's horrible.
But if it's played brilliantly, it's a metaphysical experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear the best, Heifetz is definitely he was one of the best.
Yeah, I'll check him out. I know nothing about the guy. Let's see. I'll follow on the Bartok route here. I don't have really any of the fancy label. This is London, so this is pretty. I think this is London. Yeah, this is the London label, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is a cool record. So Bartok is kind of known for his quartets, particularly, which I'll be getting to in a minute. But this is also, I think, one of his other kind of more famous pieces.
Hold it still for a minute so we can read it.
Oh, yeah.
No, hold it still. Sonata for 2 pianos and percussion.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really cool piece. Bartok is a cool guy, man. Some people they can't get on board with the Schoenberg Second Viennese stuff. I think mostly just because they don't like the fact that it's like so deliberately atonal.
Snooty.
It's snooty. It's very academic.
Intellectual.
Yeah. But aside from that, it's also great music. But so here's a little music history with Garrett Waite, which I learned from reading this fantastic book right here. I think I may have talked about it last week or last episode, but this is The Rest is Noise, which is like a history of modern classical music, starting with like Strauss and Mahler and stuff, but all the way up to like John Adams and recent cats. But
Harry Partch.
Yeah, Harry Partch is in there. But so the thing was, so there was Beethoven, and then Wagner came out, and Wagner basically pushed modern, like, classical harmony as far as it can go, basically to the breaking point. And then everyone who came after Wagner had to either, like, step in line with what he was doing, and then there's a whole breed of cats who are like, I just can't take this stuff anymore, like, we got to do something different. So Schoenberg was one of those guys, and so he set up a system where if you followed it, you were guaranteed not to have anything tonal. People like Debussy and Ravel and Bartok, who I'm talking about now, they took a different route where they actually listened to like field recordings and stuff of more traditional like folk musics and stuff, and then they turned it into classical music. Oh, Stravinsky too. He's like the famous example with. Well, we'll be getting to that, but so So his music is very accessible. The melodies are super strong. The textures are super strong. And especially on this one, the interplay between the instruments is like really fun to listen to. So this is a really great, fun record. This is a cool cover too. But Bartok, man, if you like jazz piano and you like Herbie and McCoy and all those cats, like this is who they were listening to get those amazing voicings. So check out anything you can find by Bartok, probably. He's amazing.
So we're doing one more.
Yeah, I got two more.
Okay, I got one more I can grab.
Okay. How are we doing?
Oh, this is another classic LSC recording. Adam Giselle, the Paris Conservatory Orchestra under Albert Wolff. And I don't know a ton about this, but man, this is another one of those early Shaded Dog recordings that just blows your mind. Really nice. Really
is that
nice
all liner notes in there, or is it just?
Yeah, it's got a book with it. I believe this was like a ballet, and so it's got the book. Here's the back, and here's the Shaded Dog. So classic early stereo recording again. And really dynamic, really fun to listen to. Your mom probably knows more about this.
She probably does, yeah.
Like I said, I just kind of know what I like.
Who's the composer?
I believe it's Giselle.
I don't know. She's like Mahler, Beethoven, and Wagner. That's like all she talks about.
Yeah.
And Bruckner maybe a little like she's like, for her it's like romantic period or nothing.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about
that. I don't really, all I care about, like I said, is if the recording is dynamic and fun.
Yeah.
And this is really, really impressionistic, I guess.
Oh, sure.
I'll
have to check that out then, yeah.
Yeah, this is from the period.
Speaking of impressionism, I feel bad I haven't brought up any impressionist composers this episode. We'll have to say that for another time, because that is, for me, like, that's the shit. For some reason, that's not what I was feeling like talking about today. Here's another. This is a cool thing that you had me get. I picked this up at your store. This is on Columbia.
Oh yeah. Is that Boulez?
Yeah, this is Boulez. So we talked about Boulez a little bit, I think, in our second Zappa installment. And this is the Firebird by Stravinsky, which is probably the most famous, I would say, of pieces written in the. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you have Holst and a couple other people that wrote famous pieces, but the Firebird is kind of the crowning thing. It's kind of almost commercial almost now, just because it's so famous. The ending is, if you haven't heard the piece, you'll probably recognize the ending. Like, Yes always walks out to the ending of it, but this is like his kind of breakout piece. I think he had one before, and then maybe at some point we'll talk about. But this is the original orchestration that he made, which is like twice as long as I think the version. He had like 3 different versions of it, and this is the original. And later he cut out some stuff I think that he thought was kind of excessive, but it's cool to hear it how it was heard for the very first time. It was just like a breakout hit. Everyone like went crazy about it, and then he did the Rite of Spring, and people lost their minds and started rioting. But this is really great. And Boulez, yeah, he's the cat. He's another in the line of important 20th century musicians. I think also a very accomplished composer. But Stravinsky.
He was pretty cutting edge.
Yeah.
Pretty outside the the box.
Yeah, but be careful when you're getting. I mean, you don't need to be careful, but when you get Stravinsky, like his early stuff is kind of where it's at. Like later, he went into this weird neoclassical thing, and I don't know. It doesn't excite me that much. But his early shit, unbelievable. So yeah, he drew a lot on folk melodies and stuff too. His music is very melodic, very accessible.
So this is the only mono recording I'm showing today. This is Brahms Concerto in D major with another violinist that's pretty important, Nathan Milstein. And the conductor is William Steinberg, Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. I just got this recently, and usually the mono stuff doesn't do much for me, but this one's really cool. It's maybe one of the weirdest early Capitol labels I've ever seen. That's what the label looks like. I'm assuming this was like a series they did, a classical series in the early days. But this is way before stereo even. But really nice sounding pressing. Cool. Capitol wasn't really known for being a amazing classical label. But yeah, this is pretty cool.
Sweet.
So the mono classical pressings are pretty different because they were mic'd completely different too. So it's a totally different listening experience. Obviously. But some of these guys really knew what they were doing. Some of these like the guys from Capitol, I'm sure. There's a little bit of info on here, I believe, about the miking techniques and stuff, but yeah, these guys were at the top of their game because that's basically what these labels did back then in the 50s. It's all about stuff like this. And Capitol did, they did a fair amount of pop stuff and they did a fair amount of country stuff too. But the guys that worked in the classical department were the guys that wore little white like overcoats and stuff. Nobody talked to them and nobody sat with them in the lunchroom. I mean, these guys were like all about miking techniques and playing with really good mics.
I feel like I read something. I don't know if it was this time period or it was back when they only had four tracks or something, and they would have like a couple mics on the main thing, and then they would have one mic that was on like a rolling thing. So whenever there was a feature, the person with the microphone had to like scoot over to where the soloist was.
Yeah.
Scoot over somewhere else. That just sounds like a nightmare. Now they just,
they basically had long booms and they would just, move the booms.
Right. Oh, right.
So some of those, the boom stands that they used were, they were like cranes. I mean, I've got a couple of those in the studio, the big orchestra booms. Yeah, you can cover a room pretty easily with those.
Yeah.
Just moving it back and forth.
Right. All right. I got one last pick. This is almost it's not a stretch to call it classical, but this is stepping a little bit out of the bounds. I think this is something people need to know about. This is the Kronos Quartet. They're a more recent, I think this recording is from, what is this from? 87. It's on Elektra Nonsuch, which was that part of Warner Brothers, or is that its own thing?
Elektra?
Yeah.
Well, it was eventually, I believe.
Oh, okay. So these are kind of like a really, I think it was like a kind of rotating group of musicians. I don't know much about them, but they played with a lot of contemporary people. I think they were on some more pop-oriented stuff. I think Jim Hall did a record with them. And this is like a cool record. It's got a really wide range of music. It's called White Man Sleeps, which is by a South African composer named Kevin Volans that he wrote for this record. So they have some folk stuff on here. They have an Ornette Coleman arrangement, which is decent. And then they also have a quartet piece by Charles Ives and a quartet piece by Bela Bartok. And those are like the two, as far as modern quartets go, those are the two primary composers. Really fun, really cool to listen to. So these guys are cool. If you want to listen to something that's a little bit more adventurous, that's trying to keep stuff updated. I mean, this is like 30 years ago now, but yeah, the Kronos Quartet.
Yeah, they did a Hendrix record too, you know.
I haven't heard. This is the only record I've been able to find. I found this in your store. I was kind of surprised.
I got a really cool one that just came in, a really high-end pressing. Ooh. Yeah, you need to get in there. But
yeah,
they did a Hendrix thing where they did like Purple Haze and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, they tend to do projects that are pretty outside the mainstream.
Right.
I think they've done some klezmer stuff too.
That sounds
I think I actually have used some lately in the church services. Cool stuff.
Yeah. So Ken, if let's say you're like a total prog head, you got all the Yes, you got all the King Crimson, the Rush and everything, and you watch this video, you're like, shit, I gotta get me some classical records. What would you do in that situation? How would you solve that problem?
I would come to Paramount Record Shop at 402 East Main Street in Watertown. We've got a killer classical section. We've also got a avant-garde section and electronica section. Like, how many stores have that stuff?
Wait, I just did I did the okay sign, but I don't think you're supposed to do that anymore. So I'm gonna go like this.
Why aren't you supposed to do that anymore?
It's some white power thing now, I think. Which is a shame. It's a shame that that's such a great. But anyways, go. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt with that. Go to Paramount Record Shop.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of weird stuff that you will not find anywhere else for sure. And I just bought a really interesting collection this week too. A lot of like newer stuff like 9 Inch Nails and Cage the Elephant and you know, weirder kind of new but not real new, like 10-year-old, you know, very collectible pressings, high-end pressings of stuff like that. Some hip hop and yeah. So we're always putting out stuff every weekend. We've got new stuff.
Yeah.
So you've been missing a lot of stuff.
I know. But I've been listening a lot to stuff that I haven't been listening. Like I've been getting, you know, I have so many records I haven't even listened to yet. You know what I mean? I gotta get those before I start adding to it. Yeah, what are we talking about next week or whatever our next episode is?
I have no idea.
Okay. We only did one ECM episode. It might be time.
Yeah, we could do ECM again. Do some of the more obscure stuff.
Yeah.
I've got lots and lots of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do that? I've got some of their classical stuff too.
Yeah, I would love to see that because this is the only one I have of that.
Yeah, I just got a really interesting one by them. That's like a classical violinist.
Sweet. All right. Tune in next time on Deep Grooves. Bye, everybody.
See ya.